So I started doing some invasions the other night, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with all the clips that I had, because they were very different, showcasing a bunch of different weapons on my new level 127 arcane occult build. So I figured I would just do an invasion tips and tricks video for the 15% of y'all that stick through the entire clip. Maybe you'll get something from it. So right now, I am finding a great shield user, and after patch 1.07, it is much easier to break the guard of great shield users than it was before. I'm using 2 Shotels here, and they can constantly chip through his shield at a percentage of damage. And why that's useful is a great shield user is always blocking, right? Their entire build is, based around blocking and poking, or maybe blocking enough to just long enough to be able to counterattack you, just playing very passively, and essentially just waiting to poke you down and just making you give up out of sheer frustration because you can't do anything to them. Well, after patch 1.07, it's not as easy to play that build anymore. There's a lot more counters to it. Shotels 1, there are better ones, but I just really like that one because I like the idea of someone playing passive behind a great shield constantly panicking as I'm always doing damage to them and negating most of the build. Another thing that's probably even better than that would be Piercing Fang after 1.07 completely ignores shields, even great shields of any kind. It doesn't even break their poise, it just goes straight through it. So if you're looking for something to counter a build like that, Piercing Fang is really, really good. In addition to that, I'm using a couple of different weapons on this. You see here I'm using the Flamberge, Occult Infused with Bloody Slash, which is really fun. You'll see more of that in this video, but I'm also using the Zamor Curved Sword. Now the Zamor Curved Sword doesn't really play, functionally that well into this build, but it is a lot of fun to use, and I'm just looking for opportunities to hit people with the weapon art because nobody expects it, and they're not really sure what it does. You don't see it a whole lot. Poised in this, I am running around just enough to tank a one-handed R1 and two-handed R1s from thrusting swords, which is very important. You see there, I just tanked right through that and was able to counterattack him. The thing that's cool about Zamor Curved Sword's weapon art is it's a curved greatsword, but if you manage to get people in it, you can usually, or a lot of times, one-shot them. And if you hit them with the sword as you do it in the ground, you will stun them long enough like that to keep them locked in and they're dead. This blue comes in a little bit later on. I'm going to get him too in a second. And if you're in that vortex, it's a bad time for you. It's also a good counter because if someone tries to come in you when you're still using the vortex, it'll block it. It'll block them coming in and do damage to them, so it's really useful. But you gotta time it the right time, otherwise anybody ranged or with magic can really beat you up. In this one, you'll see again I'm using that Flamberge, using some good spacing there to outspace his weapon art. I find that if you're fighting a colossal greatsword, if you have a greatsword, you can do very, very well, easily beat them at their own game, or at least stay pretty engaged with hyper armor against a colossal sword user. And so it just comes again with spacing. And like that, oh man, it's beautiful. That was such. I felt so bad for that guy, but I couldn't help it. That invasion went so smoothly, and everything just played so well. I had a great time doing that. So, GG to that guy. Thanks for letting me get that footage. That was really, really nice. So PSA also, the Bloody Finger item you get, the Phantom or whatever they're called, to teleport when you're invading. Yeah, I know it's kind of a gimmick. Yeah, I know it sucks in a lot of outer world areas, but where it does shine a lot is actually in dungeon areas when you're trying to use it to get in good position. You see here that guy fell for the Zamor L2 again. It's so good. In closed spaces, it's great. And like out in the open, it's a lot harder to hit. I wouldn't recommend it as much, but for dungeons or close like this, it is clutch. It is very useful. People don't expect it. And if you lock them in a corner or in a hallway and they're a little too aggressive, you can really get them with it. So again, the transporting Bloody Finger item, whatever it's called, it does have uses inside of dungeons like this. It's useful. I wouldn't shirk it. Just consider it if you're ever stuck in a bad area or want to surprise host. It's a good idea. So. This is another pretty fun invasion. This one's more just about watching your footing and your spacing. Obviously, you can see we're on kind of a weird little place to fight. I was able to knock my opponent down there because he wasn't watching exactly where he was. Spacing and really making sure that your footing is good are crucial for this, because I'm able to bully this guy because he's just not getting the right spacing. He's not healing enough too, but also he's not watching where he's walking. and I was able to combo him pretty well with that. Pressure is really, really strong in this game. If you get the momentum and you have enough health, that's important. If you have enough health, you always should put pressure on people. It goes both ways though. If you're trying to take advantage of pressure, let's say you get your opponent down to like maybe 30-40% health, you're pretty strong, you've got a lot of your HP left, and you put pressure on them, that's fine, right? That's okay. Like you had the momentum, you have the edge in that, so that's fine to press on that. But let's say you get him down to 30 or 40% health, and he's running, and you feel pretty confident, but maybe say your health is about 50-60%. You may feel pretty confident with that, but in this game, even after 1.07, people do a lot of damage, especially if you're invading. A lot of times you'll be invading 2 or 3 people. All it takes is someone to switch and turn around at the right time, or a buddy to come out of the corner behind you can't see, and you can easily die. So keep that in mind. It's always good to heal. Also, you saw right there a second ago, I was pressuring that guy. I got him down to like maybe 10 health. Who knows? It was very little. But he was dodging my swings pretty well, and it was really hard to finish him. But I have an answer for that in the form of carry and slicer. So if you're getting someone down to like 0 health and they're effectively rolling your weapon, they're trying to get away, and you can't really catch them, it pays to have something very fast to chase them down with and get the kill. Like a thrusting sword is good, carry and slicer is good. Another really good roll catch thing, I don't know people say use that much, but is really, really good, is catch flame. So if you any one of those, it's good for a cleanup. It's nice to have. I would recommend it. Oftentimes when you're invading, well, not oftentimes, it doesn't happen as much as it should, but a lot of times you will be invading and you will actually come across someone who's using a Taunter's Tongue in their world, and you're going to get other red phantoms to assist you. And when you have these rare opportunities, because they are much rarer in Elden Ring, you should really use them to your advantage, because having a teammate makes these a whole lot easier, takes pressure off of you, and it really can make an invasion fun. But you have to keep in mind, you can still do damage to them. They can still do damage to you. A lot of hosts have been playing this game for a while now, or played Dark Souls in the past, and they know if they're fighting a 2v1, their best chance is to try to make you hit the other person while you're trying to hit them. And so to that effect, they will often run in between the two of you, especially good or experienced players, while trying to poke you with something or hit you with damage, and just trying to get one of you to kill the other one by accident, so that they have a much easier time and can kill you. So as you're fighting with people and getting in these invasions, keep that in mind. I am trying to do the best I can. My other red has a very, very good chase down weapon. He's chasing down with a thrusting sword. I'm trying to stay out of his way while also trying to cut off the escape of the host. And it works really well there, but at any point in time, if we had made a mistake, we could have easily damaged each other, or even killed each other, and that would have been very bad for the invasion. Could have easily gone the other way.
Another lesson that I think more invaders probably need to learn, maybe newer invaders and even some older invaders as well, is the fine art of annoyance. Look, so how many times have you come across hosts, phantoms, sitting at a bonfire, not a bonfire, well, I just bonfire if you play Dark Souls 3 or any of the Souls games, or a site of grace. As soon as you spawn in, they see that little invader tag, right, like you invaded the world, and they just stop. They just sit there, and they wait for you to come into either a wide open room or a closed-in area. They swap their weapons, put on their moon veils, their dragon incantations, their rot breasts, even after a nerf, they're still very strong, and just wait for you to show in there and basically just to nuke you when you come in. They're sitting in chat talking about it. They know you're there. They're waiting for you to show up. So what do? Do you run in there and, you know, try to fight them and hopefully get the win? Are you annoyed at that, or are they annoyed? And that question, often or not, is what will gain you victory in invasion or make you lose an invasion. Are you more annoyed than they are, or are they more annoyed than you are? Are you having fun, or are they having fun? Ideally, you should both be having fun. But the reality is, oftentimes, if people do that in invasion, if they're just camping or they're just sitting still waiting for you to engage, you need to engage them, but not by running in. You don't have to do that. Like in this invasion I'm doing here, they're fighting this dragon. And I'm just tickling them with a spell that probably will do maybe 300 damage to them, but it's going to stun them, and maybe they get hit by the dragon too. It's going to annoy them enough to make them come out of the area and come to where I want them. to engage with the level, and that is what I am trying to get them to do. And you see here, I have annoyed them enough to make them move out of their spot that they were sitting in and come after me. And now I can control the situation because I know what's ahead. I know what's there. And so a 2v1 now is a 3v2 with these beastmen in here. And am I going to win in this room? Probably not. But what's going to happen is I am going to either maybe kill the Phantom, or at least, well, I did right there, or at least get some damage on them so they have to use up some flasks, and I can further move out through the level and just kind of rinse and repeat until they're out, and I have the opportunity to win the invasion. And see there, by luring them, by annoying them more, I was able to win that invasion. You will also come into worlds that are the opposite of what you just dealt with in the last invasion, or what I dealt with in the last invasion, where you're kind of, looks like you're signing up for an honor duel kind of thing. And, you know, these are fine. They're not my favorite type of things. I think you should keep them where duels belong, which ironically is this map. But something to keep in mind, oftentimes when you come across a host that is trying to set up a quote-unquote honor duel with you, a one-on-one, a lot of times they will have a Phantom or someone else hiding in the woods just waiting to jump on you at the first chance or sign that they're losing. In this case, this host didn't have that. I kind of thought it was like, okay, it's an honor duel, you know, I'm not healing, I'm going along with it, I'm like, I don't like it, but I'll deal with it. But what he does have on, even though he doesn't have a Phantom, is he has the blue ring on. So a hunter comes in this supposed honor duel right here. Now the hunter doesn't do anything, he's AFK, which, you know, whatever, thank God, that's hilarious to me. But again, this is turned from honor duel into something else. Like, this is different. Like, this is not what you signed up for, and oftentimes they're completely okay with this. They think there's nothing wrong with this, and you know, they're perfectly in their rights to do this, and it's not in their mind to lose. So it's perfectly okay for them to sign up and bring in a hunter in the event, because they don't want to lose. They want you to lose because they view it as you being in their world. So just keep that in mind. It didn't happen in this invasion. That hunter was AFK, but it can most certainly happen. Here is an even better example of that situation that I just outlined a second ago. You come into a world like this, it's obviously clearly set up. They seem very friendly. You know, it looks like they're going to let you duel them one-on-one. Again, I know where the situation is going even before it starts, right? But I'm going to play it out, see if maybe there is a chance that they are honorable about it, so we'll see. So I start fighting this person. It looks like they're trolling at first, but then they take a swing. So I'm like, okay, so we're actually fighting for real. Okay, so I'm in it. This guy's trolling here in the background, but I figure maybe he'll back off a little bit longer. There's still a small chance that they're honorable, but it doesn't look like that anymore. See, now it's just a gank. Yep, it's just a straight up gank. And, you know, that's fine. I can handle this. If it was like this from the start, nothing would be different, right? This would just be what I was doing, being a one-invasion. But it's the pretense. It's the acting like it's going to be something that's not what it is what bothers me. Just be honest about it. It's a gank. Just, you're going to gank. And look at this DS3 murky scythe tryhard right here. Anyway, this was still fun. I appreciate it for what it was. You see here I also have a co-invader that came in. He is a red phantom. So, a red phantom. Another co-invader with me. They're using the Taunter's Tongue, which is great for me because now I have a friend to help me. This person obviously is pretty decent at the game. I don't know if their phantom is any good. This name looks familiar to me for some reason. I'm not sure why. I don't know if this is a streamer or something. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so I switched up a couple different things. It's kind of hard to hit them with the Murky side. They're using Quick Step, in the thrusting technique. Anybody from Dark Souls 3 who's familiar with Murky knows this tactic. I don't know if it's good in Elden Ring. It's kind of hard to hit them with it, so maybe it is, but I don't know. I didn't really have an issue with it this invasion, so whatever. So I figure let's go ahead and take out the Phantom because he's clearly the weak link in this, and then we can concentrate clearly on the host. And the host knows this, so they're going to do what they can to make sure that the Phantom doesn't die, but it's too late for him. I've got him in my sights. He's gone. So now it's a 2v1 on this gank that started off as a 2v1 on their side. So it has clearly changed. This person is going to run around and try to look for situations and advantages where they can beat us, but they're going to be in the back foot, and they have to play really well to do it. You can see they pulled out the Nefeli Luz Axe, I think it's the Thunderhawk axe. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, but if you're not careful with that, obviously what this person is trying to do is they're trying to lure us both into their range so that they can do the weapon art on that and probably nearly one-shot us with it. But if we're careful, we can avoid that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to let him go in first, the other co-invader, do some damage, and then I'm trying to not stay too aggressive, because that as soon as that weapon art activates, I'm stuck in it. But I'm trying to poke. They're going to have to keep using their flask, and I can just keep poking them and running them down. And as long as this dynamic stays the same, we will win this invasion, and it won't be an issue. So we just got to be patient, take our time, do, you know, overall damage, just keep poking them, wearing them down, and eventually they will lose. Just play well, don't get reckless, play smart, don't get too aggressive, and just think clearly about it. Just don't play your advantages too much, just breathe, and just take it slow. And you see my co-invader is doing a very good job of playing with me back and forth, and that was a little sloppy right there on his part. But, you know, we're not doing too bad. We're really chipping him down, and as it stands right now, we are clearly going to win this invasion. And we've got him cornered, so we're just kind of waiting right now for this invasion to end. And as you see in a second, they're not going to last a whole lot longer. They're about out of flasks. There's nothing they can do, so they just give up. And that's the invasion. So again, keep that in mind. Patience, being aggressive but not too aggressive, and trying to figure out what the host is trying to do so you can take advantage of it and not get killed yourself. It's very important. So now we're just going to take a second to talk about some of the new weapon arts in weapons that have become much more viable in patch 1.07. Things that were not viable before that deserve another look. And, you know, if you follow any, you know, streamer on Twitch, in the Souls PvP community, or any YouTuber, Saint Riot, Peeve, Chase the Bro, G9, whoever, insert your name in there, then you have probably gotten a decent list from them of things that are better and would have been updated. So just a recap of some things that you might want to take a look at in patch 1.07, because it's kind of like the old, what is it? It's, I can't remember, it was from Batman. It was, Detective Gordon was talking about the Batman origins, basically, about how as criminals got, you know, worse in Gotham, they had to upgrade. So they had, you know, they started off with the criminals, and the mob got armor-piercing round. They got new guns, so the cops got armor-proof vests, bulletproof vests, and then so the mob got, you know, armor-piercing rounds, and then essentially it all led up to, okay, well, now Gotham has a Batman, and what does Gotham City criminals have? And it's the Joker. The whole point is, each time a new meta comes out, a new patch comes out, things change, things get buffed, and things get nerfed. And this one was much more of a buff to all weapons, but in a way, that was also a nerf to a lot of weapons, like high damage things. If you were doing, you know, any build you had that was doing an incredible amount of damage, maybe 1200 plus per hit, that was probably nerfed, right? Because they're trying to get rid of a lot of that really high damage that Elden Ring is known for. And so that's a good thing, generally speaking. You know, none of us, we all know that Elden Ring has a problem with just huge amounts of instantaneous damage from just one-shot people. A lot of that is that people just need more vigor, but if that's been harped on enough, just get more vigor. The other part of it is, though, and something to think about is, while it's a good thing that all of that has been nerfed, because it hurts both invaders, it hurts and helps both invaders and hosts and phantoms, what it doesn't do, though, and something you need to keep in mind, is technically it is a shadow buff for ganks and for host parties, because while you're all doing less damage, you know, there's only two teams, and often or not, if you're an invader, you're your own team, and the other team is 3 people or 2 people, right? So their damage is the same as yours, but there's 2 or 3 of them. So that's 2 or 3 times your damage, no matter what. So technically, it is kind of a buff for hosts and phantoms, and that's not a huge deal. You can overcome that. But you need to remember it and keep it in mind as you're doing these invasions. So things you should have, right? Thrusting swords, they have always been incredible forever and will always stay that way. Consider using some of the Storm Masters of War. They've been very, very good recently. Storm Stomp has always been good. Storm Blade is incredible. If you put a little handy tip, if you put Storm Blade on a Shotel, because a Shotel has innate shield piercing abilities to do some of the damage, that Storm Blade, if it hits their shield with the L2, if you put Storm Blade on it, it will do that same shield piercing damage. So you can pierce through their shield at a distance with that, and that will work for other things like that on the Shotel as well. Other things that are good, you know, I mean, what isn't? Great swords have been much improved. Hyper armor on great swords is way better than it was before. And so I think it's something like 133 poise you need to out-tank the hyper armor from a great sword. And that's just like, I don't even think you can hit those numbers. Maybe you can, but I'm pretty sure you can't. So if you want to use a great sword, they're much more viable now than they were in the past. Word of this, I wanted to use that from the start of the game, but it was always terrible for kind of both PvP and PvE. And so I never got a chance to use it. But now I've been using it on my first character ever made. I'm having a great time with it. Weapon art comes out much faster. It's just a better weapon overall. So if you want to use great swords, that's really, really good too. At least try it. Halberds are always still and will be good. So there's that. Are you still here? It's been about 20 minutes. I think about 15% of you might still be here, or it might be less than that. If you are still here, the next video topic on our little Elden Ring essay here is latency and lag, and how that might affect your game and your invasions. So you're not going to see a whole lot of it here, but the reason I bring it up is the Phantom in this is and will be using the Golden Order Greatsword. Now, the Golden Order Greatsword is fine, and it's not difficult to fight against in any invasion, provided you have a good connection to them. And it seems here I do have a good connection to them, because I'm able to roll through the wave of gold if I can see it and I can accurately time the roll. But however, as a note, if you come into a world of someone who you don't have a good connection with, or they have bad latency, or maybe they're on Wi-Fi, which is a sin, that wave of gold, if you try to roll through it, when you see wave of gold and when they're showing the wave of gold coming at you are probably going to be different. So if you try to roll it, even if you roll it perfectly on your screen, it's not going to be perfect on their screen, so you're going to take damage. Like, it's like, for me, it's been like 90% of the time it's been a bad connection. It's always that way. So it's really annoying to have to deal with people casting at you, casting wave of gold at you, and then chasing you down with a spear. You know, it's not like you have enough to worry about, but you can't even accurately roll the waves of gold because you can't see how it's actually coming at you. And so obviously that's never frustrating or, you know, unfair to one invader fighting 3 people, but it happens. So if you see somebody using that and you know you have a bad connection with them, a good idea is, if you can't roll through it, is to either try to outdistance it and hit them from a distance, or if you can somehow make it, try to run around it at the edges if you can get to it. Or again, you know, if you hide behind a rock or something like that, wave of gold, I don't know if it's for every object, but for most objects it will not go through that. So it's a good idea. Don't just automatically assume you can easily roll through that. It may not happen. So I would do, if I was you, I would kind of see how your internet connection is with that person, and keep that in mind. And if it's good, you know, don't worry about it, just roll it. But if it's not, you know, maybe do one of the alternatives I just suggested right there. And I mean, that's just one of the most noticeable issues with latency and lag, but there are others. Also, in this, to talk about this clip a little bit, see there, I wasn't watching it, so they actually hit me with it. If you're having trouble and people are constantly casting things at you, spamming things at you, you're running low on flasks, and you're having trouble getting damage on and killing the finger first, sometimes it pays to just go all in for the host. Even if you're getting hit on the sides, if clearly the host is the one hanging back and is probably the weaker player, just go and get them. Just go and finish them. And, you know, don't feel like you have to wait or kill the Phantom first, because oftentimes they're not going to let you do that, and they might be the better player. So instead of just, you know, eating all of the stuff they're throwing at you, sometimes, you know, it might just be good to go for the host. And if you're in a situation where you're losing, you think you're going to lose, and you need a Hail Mary, you know, there are worse things in the world than just going for the host and leaving the fingers or phantoms behind. So that's been the video. It's been about, what, 25 minutes or so. Thank you all for sticking around. I hope you liked it. If you want to, you don't have to subscribe, but it'd be cool if you did. And I'm going to come out with another dueling video, or another video that's for the dueling side of this instead, talking about impaling thrust into R1 combos on thrusting swords. So hope you enjoy that. Hope you enjoy this. Thank you very much.